Star Trek forgot Worf should have never become captain of the Enterprise. After one particular decision in Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, Worf, Michael Dorn, should not have been able to become captain of the USS Enterprise. For most of Star Trek, The Next Generation 7 seasons LT, Worf serves as the security chief on the USS Enterprise D under the command of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart. After TNG came to a close, Worf transferred to DS9, where he truly came into his own as a character and starship captain. Worf serves as the Strategic Operations Officer on Deep Space Nine, coordinating Starfleet's activity within the Bajoran sector. As the most senior officer under the leadership of Captain Benjamin Sisko, Avery Brooks, on DS9, Worf takes over command of the USS Defiant when Sisko is not in command of the ship. Initially built as a warship to defend against the Borg, the Defiant proves vital in the Dominion War and allows Worf to prove himself as a starship commander. Although Worf was never shown on screen as the official captain of the Enterprise, he took over command of the Enterprise E after Picard accepted a promotion to Admiral. Star Trek, Picard forgot Worf shouldn't have become captain of the Enterprise. Worf ultimately remains loyal to Starfleet throughout TNG and DS9, but he occasionally makes choices based on his Klingon sense of honor and loyalty. In DS9 Season 6, Episode 16, Change of Heart, the newly married Worf and LT, Yajia Dax, Terry Farrell are sent on an important undercover mission to meet with a Cardassian defector named Lasseran, Todd Waring. Lasseran reportedly has valuable military intelligence that could aid the Federation in the Dominion War. As Yajia and Worf trek through the jungle to rendezvous with Lasseran, Yajia is seriously injured by a Jem'Hadar soldier. Although Worf initially agrees to leave Yajia behind to complete the mission, he later changes his mind and returns just in time to save her life. Because Worf prioritized Jadzia's life over the mission, Lasseran dies before he can get his information to the Federation. After Worf returns to Deep Space Nine, Captain Sisko tells him that this event will go on Worf's service record and that they'll probably never give you a command of your own after this. However, despite this blemish on his resume, Worf does eventually get his own command on the USS Enterprise, no less. At the end of DS9, Worf becomes the Federation ambassador to the Klingon Empire until he rejoins the crew of the Enterprise E in Star Trek, Nemesis. After the events of Nemesis, Worf was the only logical choice to take over as captain of the Enterprise to keep the ship in the TNG family. Thematically, it simply made more sense for Worf to be a captain in Star Trek, Picard Season 3 than it did to honor a line of dialogue from one 20-year-old episode of DS9. There are several in-universe possibilities as to why Worf's decision to save Yajia did not prevent him from receiving a command. For one, Captain Sisko understood Worf's choice and even acknowledged that he would have done the same thing if it had been his wife in that situation. It's possible that Sisko vouched for Worf and emphasized all the positive things he did throughout his time on Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. Admiral Picard, too, could have spoken out in Worf's defense, and he likely held significant sway when it came to choosing the next captain of his beloved Enterprise. In the Star Trek universe, Worf, son of Mo, holds a unique and storied place among the legendary characters of the franchise. As the first Klingon in Starfleet, he became an icon of diplomacy, honor, and cultural complexity. But while Worf's journey is one of personal and professional growth, Star Trek overlooked one glaring truth. Worf should have never become the captain of the USS Enterprise. Despite his formidable skills and sense of duty, the traits that make Worf exceptional as a warrior and tactician ultimately make him ill-suited to command Starfleet's flagship. Worf's arc across Star Trek, The Next Generation, TNG, and Deep Space Nine-9 established him as a man of honor, duty, and discipline. Raised by human parents after the death of his Klingon family, Worf embodies a fascinating duality, balancing his Klingon warrior ethos with Starfleet's principles of exploration and diplomacy. These traits, while admirable, also create blind spots in his judgment. Worf's unrelenting commitment to Klingon honor codes often clashes with Starfleet's nuanced diplomatic policies. In the position of captain, where critical decisions often require flexibility and compromise, Worf's rigid worldview could become a liability. One key example of Worf's inability to balance pragmatism and principle occurred during the TNG episode Reunion, where Worf killed Duras, a high-ranking Klingon involved in the assassination of his mate Killier. While Worf's actions satisfied Klingon customs, they violated Starfleet regulations. Worf willingly jeopardized his career and Starfleet's trust in him to avenge a personal grievance. As a captain, such a rash decision could have catastrophic consequences, endangering not only his crew, but the delicate political alliances Starfleet must maintain. Command of the Enterprise requires a leader who can separate personal emotions from professional responsibilities, a skill Worf has struggled to master throughout his career. Furthermore, Worf's cultural rigidity and Klingon-centric perspective often impede his ability to embrace Starfleet's ethos of inclusivity and understanding. In Let He Who Is Without Sin, from DS9, Worf's discomfort with the free-spirited Risa culture leads to him aligning with a reactionary group opposed to the planet's hedonistic lifestyle. His disapproval of others' ways of life underlines his difficulty in understanding perspectives that differ from his own. Such rigidity is problematic for a Starfleet captain who must navigate a galaxy filled with diverse species, beliefs, and values. The captain of the Enterprise needs to lead by example, fostering an environment of open-mindedness and cultural sensitivity, qualities Worf occasionally struggles to demonstrate. Worf's tendency toward aggression and militaristic solutions further disqualifies him as the ideal candidate for the captain's chair. In Starfleet, especially aboard the Enterprise, the emphasis is on exploration, diplomacy, and creative problem-solving. While Worf is a skilled warrior and an exceptional strategist, his instinct to resolve conflicts with force runs counter to Starfleet's mission. Time and again, he demonstrates a preference for combat over negotiation, whether it's advocating for preemptive strikes or issuing ultimatums. The Klingon approach to honor and victory is an intrinsic part of Worf's character, but it often clouds his ability to consider less confrontational strategies. Perhaps the most glaring argument against Worf's promotion to captain is his difficulty with leadership under pressure. While he excels as a tactical officer and as a commanding officer of smaller missions, his record in command roles reveals significant weaknesses. In DS9's Change of Heart, Worf chooses to abandon a critical mission to save the life of his wife, Yajia Dax. This decision, while emotionally understandable, led to Starfleet losing vital intelligence that could have shifted the tide of the Dominion War. Such moments demonstrate that Worf's personal attachments and emotional instincts often override his strategic thinking, a dangerous trait for someone tasked with commanding Starfleet's flagship and its hundreds of crew members. Finally, the legacy of the Enterprise itself is worth considering. As the crown jewel of Starfleet, the Enterprise represents the ideals of exploration, diplomacy, and peaceful coexistence. Captains like Jean-Luc Picard exemplify these values, leading with wisdom, empathy, and a commitment to Starfleet's mission of seeking out new life and new civilizations. While Worf brings valuable perspectives and skills to the table, his tenure as captain would inevitably redefine the Enterprise in a way that prioritizes Klingon ideals of honor and combat over Starfleet's core values. The result would be a fundamental shift in the tone and purpose of Starfleet's flagship, which risks undermining its role as a symbol of unity and exploration. This is not to diminish Worf's significance as a character. He is one of Star Trek's most compelling figures, representing the rich interplay of cultures and identities that define the franchise. But his strengths as a